Has America bitten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil once too often? A question that echoes through the current state of affairs in this land of liberty. A nation that was once a beacon of hope, a fertile field for dreams, has seen its share of societal, political, and religious changes. America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, has always been seen as a faith-based nation, a place where people from all walks of life converge to seek the promise of a better tomorrow. The Founding Fathers built this nation on principles that were deeply rooted in faith, principles that were meant to guide and shape the nation's journey through the annals of time. But as we look around today, we see a transformation that could not have been anticipated in the days of yore. The societal fabric is being stretched and strained, with the threads of unity fraying at the edges. The political landscape is a tumultuous sea, with waves of division crashing against the shores of unity. Religion, once a binding force, now sees itself at the center of debates and controversies. The faith that was once the bedrock of this nation seems to be eroding, replaced by an ever-growing wave of secularism. The question that arises is, have we strayed too far from our founding principles? Have we bitten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil once too often? The transformation of America is not just a question of societal and political changes. It is also a question of faith and freedom. The freedom to believe, the freedom to live according to one's convictions, the freedom to dream and aspire. All these are under scrutiny. So where does this leave us? What does the future hold for this great nation? What could these changes indicate in the context of biblical prophecies? As we delve deeper into these questions, let us remember that hope is never lost. For in the words of the wise, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So let us keep faith, for it is the beacon that will guide us through these tumultuous times. From its birth, America was a nation built on faith. The seeds of this great nation were sown by enterprising men and women who ventured into the unknown, fueled by their unwavering belief in a higher power. The pilgrims who first set foot on the shores of the New World were driven by a desire for religious freedom, to practice their faith without fear of persecution. The faith of these early settlers was the bedrock upon which America was built. It's in the fabric of our Constitution, the backbone of our laws, and the spirit of our Declaration of Independence. The Founding Fathers, men of great intellect and vision, believed in the power of faith to guide and govern. They saw faith not as a crutch, but as a compass, guiding us towards a future of freedom and prosperity. The biblical principles they held dear, of love, justice and compassion, became the cornerstones of American society. Indeed, the influence of these biblical principles can be seen in the very heart of American democracy. The belief in the inherent dignity and worth of every individual, the sanctity of life, the pursuit of truth, the commitment to justice and the love of neighbor. These are all values deeply rooted in the biblical tradition. They shaped the way our nation was structured, the way we interact with one another, and the way we view our role in the world. Yet, the story of America is not merely of a nation built on faith. It's also a tale of a nation shaped by faith. For faith is not a static concept. It evolves, it grows, and it challenges. It demands of us to question, to seek, and to strive. It calls us to be better, to do better. And so, as we reflect on the history of this great nation, we must also consider the role faith has played, not just in its founding, but in its evolution. And it is here that we find a point of contention. Over time, however, the nation's relationship with faith has evolved, and not always for the better. The recent crisis on college campuses is a stark example of America's shift from its founding principles. Let's delve deeper into this issue. College campuses, once bastions of free thought, intellectual exploration, and the pursuit of truth, have been embroiled in controversies that reflect a departure from these ideals. What we're seeing is a growing intolerance for differing opinions, a suppression of free speech, and an alarming trend towards ideological indoctrination, rather than open debate and critical thinking. This is a far cry from the faith-based principles that guided the formation of the nation. It's intriguing to note how these developments echo biblical prophecies about societal decay. The Good Book, in the second letter to Timothy, warned of a time when people would no longer listen to sound and wholesome teaching. Instead, they would follow their own desires and look for teachers who will tell them, whatever their itching ears want to hear. They would reject the truth and chase after myths. Isn't that what we see today? A generation seeking validation of their own beliefs rather than challenging them. A society that values personal truth over objective fact. A culture that silences dissenting voices in the name of tolerance. The crisis on college campuses is not an isolated event. It's a microcosm of the larger shift happening within the nation. It's as if America, like the biblical Adam and Eve, has bitten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, choosing to define right and wrong according to its own whims. The founding principles, the faith that built this nation, are being eroded. The God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, who once held a central place in the public square, is being relegated to the sidelines, replaced by a culture that exalts human wisdom over divine wisdom. This crisis is but a symptom of a larger shift within the nation. It's a wake-up call, a call to return to the faith that built this nation under the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. As we move forward, we need to ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want for America? Will we continue down this path, or will we return to the principles that once guided us? What do biblical prophecies suggest about the future of America? This is a question that has intrigued scholars and laymen alike. Let's take a look at some of these prophecies and see how they may relate to the current state of America. One prophecy that stands out is found in the book of Daniel. The prophecy speaks of a great nation that forgets its roots, turns away from its founding principles, and suffers profound consequences. Sound familiar? This prophecy, some scholars suggest, could very well be referring to America, a nation founded on faith, now grappling with a growing trend of secularization, an empire built on the principles of liberty and justice, now wrestling with social, political and moral crises. Then there's the prophecy in Isaiah, which warns of a time when right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right. When we look at the current state of discourse, especially on college campuses, it's not hard to see echoes of this prophecy. The lines between truth and falsehood, justice and injustice, good and evil are being blurred. But the most chilling prophecy perhaps is found in Revelation. It talks about a time of great tribulation, where the world will experience unprecedented trials and tribulations. Some interpret this as a warning of what could happen if America and the world continue down this path of moral and spiritual decline. These prophecies paint a grim picture indeed. But it's important to remember that prophecies are not set in stone. They serve as warnings, not certainties. The future is not yet written. And this is where hope comes in. The same Bible that warns of these potential calamities also speaks of a time of restoration. If we return to the faith of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, the faith that built this nation, there's still hope. So, what do biblical prophecies suggest about the future of America? They suggest that we may be heading towards a crossroads, but they also remind us that we have the power to choose the path we take. The prophecies paint a concerning picture, but there's still hope. The faith that built the nation under the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob could be its saving grace. In the midst of the storm, a beacon of hope shines brightly, a lighthouse guiding us back to the path of faith. It's not a call to a specific religion, but a return to the principles that guided the founding of this great nation. Principles of faith, hope, and love. Principles that are capable of healing our land and restoring our unity. Imagine a nation where discussions of faith are not seen as taboo, but rather as a vital part of our collective identity. A nation where we understand that our strength comes from our unity in diversity. A unity rooted in our shared faith in the enduring principles of truth, justice, and the pursuit of a better tomorrow. This return to faith is not about imposing a religious doctrine, but about embracing the values that have guided us through our darkest times. It's about acknowledging that our greatest triumphs have come when we've had the courage to face our challenges with faith and perseverance. The potential for renewal is immense. Just as a seed needs to be buried in darkness before it can reach towards the light, so too, America's current challenges could be the fertile soil from which a stronger, more unified nation can grow. This is not a naive hope, it's a resilient hope. It's a hope that acknowledges the challenges, but refuses to be defined by them. It's a hope that believes in the potential for transformation, in the power of faith to move mountains. In essence, it's a call for an American revival, a revival that starts with us, the people, a revival that returns us to the faith that built this nation, a faith that believes in the power of love, truth, and unity to conquer all. The future of America may be uncertain, but if we return to the faith that built this nation, we might just find the way forward.
For enlightening resources, or join us in person at our welcoming space at 5237 West Diversey Avenue in Chicago. We are here for you. It's time to discover what you've been missing.